Logan opens across the land tomorrow, and box office predictions are already strong despite its R rating. What does that mean for superhero films moving forward? I'm Sasha Perlraver, and this is Screen Junkies News. From Superman in 1978 to now, the general consensus around the big studios on superhero films was that they were for kids. You couldn't do an R-rated film. Even Ghost Rider was PG-13. And then Deadpool happened. Grossed $783 million worldwide and is currently the #9 top-grossing superhero film of all time and the #2 R-rated movie according to Box Office Mojo. Deadline is now predicting a $70+ million opening weekend for Logan domestically, only slightly behind the opening weekend for X-Men Origins Wolverine, which grossed $85 million. If Logan beats expectations, it could become the top-grossing Wolverine film of all time. And that is entirely possible if you look at Deadpool, which almost doubled its initial predictions of $70 million, jumping to $132. So, what happened? Did the studios have it wrong this whole time, or has the audience changed? With me to break this all down is Roth Coronet and Dan Murrell. With us on social, we have Charlie Feldman. Guys, what do we think? Is this something where we've really been hungry for an R-rated superhero movie, sort of like how we were desperate for a dark and gritty Batman? Or is this something where the audience shifted?
Well, it's a little bit of both, I think. Deadpool, I don't think the appeal with Deadpool wasn't the R rating. The appeal with Deadpool, I think, was the novelty of it, the fact that it was a really fresh take on it and really funny, interesting, different, unique kind of movie. We've had Watchmen, we've had the graphic novel movies. They're R-rated, and they've proved to be very niche. Some of them do better than others, but there's a bit of a cap. There've been some successes, but yeah, I don't know if the audience has changed so much as Deadpool was just so unique and kind of out of left field that it drew people out to see it. Well,
but is this something where now everything's going to have an R rating?
I don't think so. I think that what people were craving was not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. So they don't want to tell the Wolverine story in a... Certainly, you don't want to go... This is not Old Man Logan, this movie. Logan is not. But you don't want to go near anything even remotely like that thematically and then water it down, sure. Right? And Wolverine is a deadly, bloody, violent character. And I feel like what people were craving with Deadpool and Wolverine, and I've said this before, is just for those characters and those stories to be told the way they needed to be. Mm-hmm. And if that equaled an R rating, then so be it. And that's, I think, what the studio allowed. But I also think the more and more that the genre has grown over the last 10 years, the more they're going to have to diversify what kind of movies exist within the comic book movie genre, sure. Superhero movie genre. And that's really what we're seeing. It's not just for kids anymore. Logan, I don't think, is for little kids at all.
No, the thing that I keep hearing over and over is, I wanted blood on the claws. I wanted blood on the claws. And we're going to get blood on the claws. Well, we were talking about things that have been successful, though. So the R-rated superhero films that we've seen Wanted, which did $341 million. Watchmen, which did $185. Blade 2, $155. Blade, $131. Blade Trinity, what's up? That's my jam. I love that movie. $128.9. The Crow drops us all the way down to $50. And then Kick-Ass with $96. Yeah. When we're talking about R-rated films in general, you have The Passion of the Christ at #1, and then just $7 million below, between $370 to $363. You have Deadpool. Yeah. When you want an R-rated film...
And what do those two things have in common? No, I'm just
kidding. But when you talk about an R-rated film, the fear typically has been you're cutting out the younger audience. You have to go with a parent. Yeah, right, as if they care. Come on. But supposedly you get less...
Well, if they want that money, they have to go with a parent. If the studio wants the money to go to that movie, they have to go. I saw Dr. Dolittle 5 times one summer because I snuck into I was sneaking into rated R movies. So that's they better, that's... If studios want kids to get into this movie, they have to go with the parent, or else some other studio's getting their money.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Dolittle's like, thank you.
Exactly.
Whatever R-rated movie.
Go look at the box office numbers.
I
don't even remember what summer that was. Whatever summer, maybe it was the summer of '99. I don't know. It was like Blair Witch and stuff like that. I don't know. What summer was that?
I want to know what Dan was
What was he
saying.
sneaking into that should have gotten his money instead of Dr. Doolittle?
Yeah.
Well, but also things that I think they would be concerned about
I
running
wonder
time.
how often that's true, and does that give us Dr. Doolittle too?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry for
kidding.
Dr. Doolittle too, everybody.
Yeah, it's all your fault.
That's my
Dan's
fault. It's
But
my
R-rated
ilk.
films in general preclude a certain segment of the audience, and also running times are something people are concerned about. I don't think they're concerned about either one of those things with Logan.
No, they're not. And the thing is, there's the 4 quadrants, right? And of course you want to reach that. And to be fair, like you put up that comparison with Wanted versus the non-R-rated movies, Avengers, which made 1.5 billion, Ultron 1.4, Iron Man 2 1.2, Civil War 1.1.
Right.
I mean, that is significantly more money. But then if you look at something like Kick-Ass, it was also made for significantly less. So I think if you're a studio, that starts to be the equation that you're kicking around, right? Like,
Interesting.
it costs less to make Deadpool than it does most X-Men movies, right? And then it made a ton back. So I feel like they were willing to take more of a risk than with Logan and say, but they spent more on Logan than they did on Deadpool, I believe. Do you know what the production budget was on that, Charlie? Fact check.
I don't know. No, I would imagine they probably spent way more on Logan than they did on Deadpool.
Well, but that's
I
just Hugh
promotion-
Jackman's
well, maybe
fee.
not promotion.
But that's
like
a lot of...
It's fee and promotion and everything else, but
Yeah.
you're also getting more back because you have Jackman in it.
Deadpool 58 million.
That was the
Yeah,
production budget.
Right. That's and then
That's actually
what was Logan production budget? Because my question to us is, do you think Logan will ultimately make more than Deadpool?
No.
No, I don't. I think so this opening weekend I think will be huge, also because not only have the reviews been great, but now everybody knows that there's those 3 minutes that the critics didn't get to see. So there's going to be repeat viewings, and there's going to be people who want to see what that was. There's so much buzz. It's got very little it's going up against. I mean, will Get Out still be at number 1? Absolutely not. It'll totally knock it out, although I love that movie, and if you haven't seen it, you should. But the question is when you've got something like this, like the reason Deadpool had an R rating is because it's filthy, it's vulgar, it's hyper violent, but it's also very funny.
Yeah.
Logan is dark, it is gritty, it is mature, it is violent,
And it
but I don't know
doesn't-
but it's also a lot longer.
And I don't know that it invites multiple viewings
The way
in the
Deadpool
same
does.
way that Deadpool, because it is light and funny, and certainly in the way that the Avengers does.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool is kind of like a party atmosphere.
Yeah.
That movie was like, hey, come see me. Look at the fun ads. You're going to have a great time. And Logan is very like, you will be depressed.
Yeah.
You will be sad. This will not be fun for you.
But
I'm
you
not
will
saying that's
love it.
bad.
But you
I
will
can't
love
wait.
it.
I've got
superhero movie.
we have
Put that on the box.
we have tickets to see Logan tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with an opening night crowd. I can't wait.
Yeah.
But it's not the same thing as Deadpool, and I think that Deadpool was lightning in a bottle,
Yeah.
and to expect Logan to do the kind of numbers, it's just not. Deadpool was so unique, and Logan has the expectations game to play against. Deadpool was way better than anyone thought it was going to be. Logan came from the minute it was announced that we're doing an
Yeah.
R-rated Wolverine. Logan's expectations were up here.
Yeah.
And now, so instead of defying expectations, it's trying to play against expectations.
Yeah.
It's got the reviews.
It has to
It has
match.
the hype. So now it's like, okay, show me this good movie that you made, as opposed to Deadpool, which is like, wow, I can't believe
I can't
you did
believe how
this.
good it is.
Right.
And then also Deadpool, I think, was really fun as a Valentine's movie, truly, that a
yeah.
couple could go to together, because the entire film, he wanted to get back to his woman. There
Yeah.
was a level of romance to it. It was filthy, filthy
It was
romance.
genius counter program.
Yeah, it really
genius.
was.
It was like, are you seeing Deadpool or are you seeing 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah.
Please, God, go see Deadpool.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think is really interesting is at this point, we have a branding question. You've got Fox, which is, they have the X-Men, they have Fantastic Four, we'll see what they do with that, and they are going in this R-rated direction. You got the DCEU at Warner Brothers sticking very much, they want to go dark and gritty, but I don't think they're going R-rated anytime soon. And then you have Marvel, and Marvel is like, we're PG-13, we're going to give you something fun, but we are going to give you something that is family friendly. So is this a branding opportunity for the DCEU and for Fox to go, okay, Marvel's got this completely covered on like the family-friendly sweet side and the funny, great, kick-ass action. We are going to go super dark, super gritty, super art house.
That
Like
would-
Mangold saying he's going to put out a black and white version of this film.
Yeah.
That would be a
No.
mistake. I think that's no. I think that's that's a little bit of some of the fan resistance, some of the fan pushback that I think DC has received is that I think they did try to go that direction with Superman, and Superman in particular. A lot of fans of Superman were saying like they don't want to push that character in that direction because it's not a great fit.
Yeah.
If you want to do this with Logan, it fits this kind of darker direction. That's always been the character. The R rating I think fits because it's always been a very brutal character. I think Deadpool opened the door for this, but I think if you do a one size fits, we saw that with Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah.
With that take on Fantastic Four, it did not work. And I think if you're a studio and you say like, okay, all of my superhero films are going to be dark and gritty and super broody. If it doesn't fit the character, it's not going to work.
And I think if you're telling these stories from a perspective of is it on brand or not, and it's interesting because I can see your argument. Like clearly, Marvel has a particular tone. Marvel Studios has a particular tone, and it does feel like a cohesive brand, and it's really effective. But this is also Kevin Feige's dream from way before it actually started to happen for him. He had planned a United Cinematic Universe for years in his mind before that started to become a reality, and so there is something organic about it in the creative sense. The creative guide wants it this way. I think whether we like it or not, or we think that it should diversify for organic, real reasons that have to do with what he thinks serves the story. If you're coming from a studio perspective of like, well, we just want to do the different thing, let's be dark and gritty, Fantastic Four are not dark and gritty, and that wasn't the way to tell that story. If they had told the story the way it should have been told, then I think you would have had maybe a hit movie that was very totally different than Logan. Logan's different than Deadpool.
Yeah.
So we keep talking about it though. What do you think will happen if Logan blows up? If Logan makes 125 this weekend and they go into another, I mean, we've got Gambit that's still kicking around that hasn't happened yet, X-Force, you've got the New Mutants films. Will that suddenly go R-rated?
It shouldn't.
I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, it's cynical in a way.
R would be, I think,
Gambit
okay.
R, but again, it just, the thing is the rating does not make a movie good or bad, right?
Exactly, yeah. Gambit is not a character that fans are clamoring, like, I want an R-rated Gambit. As a matter of fact, Gambit is a character that you need, I think, to sell to a more general audience because Gambit's an X-Men character from, I hate to say it, I'm going to sound old, Gambit's an X-Men character from my generation, the 90s cartoon generation, which is not the generation right now that's buying a big bulk of these tickets, at least not the generation that you have to sell this new character on. You can't take a Gambit movie. I think that's one of the reasons it's had so much trouble. You can't take it for granted because you're going to have to sell that character again. And that's, again, that's another fun character, but not one that I think needs to be sold in an R-rated way like Deadpool. That should be, I think, a fun movie, but not dirty and kind of crude like that. That's Deadpool's character. And Deadpool needed to be rated R. This movie, Logan, from what I've heard, and from the trailers and everything, needs to be rated R. If you can make a Gambit movie PG-13 and it's great, do that.
Yeah.
That's studios don't do that enough. They take one movie that did well, and they take what worked about that movie and they try to paint it across all the movies.
Yeah,
and
50
it doesn't
Shades
work.
was R, yes? I assume. I hope.
has to be.
50
There's
Shades?
lots
Oh
of
my God.
argument.
If it wasn't, then the ratings board has changed.
I do think that sometimes we get caught up in that, right? Like 50 Shades is R, E.T. certainly isn't. You know what I mean? Like it just, the rating doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie. When something gets an R rating that you're surprised got an R rating, like Deadpool,
Right.
it just means that the creators were given more liberty and now are excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, but the other thing I think is interesting is like if you look at what Marvel is doing with the MCU, like the films really do skew PG-13, but then the stuff they do on Netflix
Does not.
is a lot
That's
edgier
adult, yeah.
and more adult. And then if you look at what goes on with the DCEU, the films are PG-13 and then the television shows are like purely PG.
But arguably, those TV shows are capturing those characters.
Yeah.
And the tone of the characters, because DC, the comics, Batman's its own entity. But DC, the comics are far more like big heroes, like Marvel was the one that was doing like, alcoholic Iron Man. And, it's interesting to see what's happened in the translation.
Yeah. Well, let's go to Charlie. What are people saying online? What did they think?
We've got some fact checking to do,
Please,
though.
fact
Oh, no.
Check
Where did we
facts.
mess up?
127 million for Logan on the budget. So it has a much bigger budget than Deadpool ever
Plus
had.
marketing.
Hugh
that's-
Jackman is
that's-
expensive.
Yeah.
So here are my theories for your R-rated movie.
Okay. What year was it?
This was 98, June
1998.
26th. The
Okay.
summer, take you back.
Summer 98.
98.
Yep.
Was it Out of Sight? from Soderbergh.
Oh, I love that movie so much.
No.
Buffalo 66 from Vincent Gallo.
No.
Oh man,
Those are the
what?
only ones coming out that weekend.
Summer? No, not that
Yeah.
weekend. I'm talking about the summer. That
whole
summer
summer.
that Dr.
Whole
Doolittle
summer.
came
Oh man,
out.
I
The
really
whole
wanted
summer.
it to be out of sight.
There
That's
was,
one of my favorites.
there was a couple ones that it used to be a lot easier. You buy a ticket for one and sneak around.
You
the
can still
side.
do that
I
at the
think we
Grove.
still do that.
I used to
Yeah.
do that before Oscar weekend when I was broke. I would get one movie ticket and I would spend the entire day going, seeing all of the Oscar contenders.
Okay, I would like to point out I never did that. I always bought a ticket, just
I was
not
a-
for the movie I was going to go see.
Okay,
I
other ones.
bought a
Saving
ticket.
Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan, I think I actually got parental approval for. So I don't know if that
Did
was.
you show up in the movie theater with a note? You're like, my mom says that I can see the Spielberg movie.
Yes, kind of.
Into your chest.
The theater, if you took your parent with you to buy the ticket, they would stamp it that you could go.
No way.
Can I just say, where did you grow up, really
Arkansas.
quickly? Because
Oh,
I grew up in New
wow.
York City, and we were straight up in bars at 12.
Me
like
too.
the rules were there were no rules. This
Yeah.
is amazing to me that they actually enforced
This,
our
is
ratings.
what
Totally.
happens in the flyover
Yeah.
states, Ross.
I
The
was
only
in-
time that I was ever deprived was I had this movie theater I loved in Berkeley, and they wouldn't let me see kids because it was NC-17.
Oh, yeah.
And I
Oh,
went,
yeah,
like,
that's
I
a good
kept
call.
trying and trying and
That's a
trying,
good
and they
call.
wouldn't let me do it. And finally,
Which is so ironic, given.
but I totally did the thing like you do with beer. I like stood
Yeah.
outside and I was like, hey man, can you buy me a ticket? Can you buy me a ticket? And he bought me a ticket and I like ran in.
to give further context, I lived kids. So yeah, I'm just amazed that you had to
literally
get a
did.
note to. Just
Yeah.
kidding. I'm exaggerating.
What's up, Johnny Abrams? Shout out. I know. We both do. I went to camp with him and I don't know what with him. I don't know what.
So anyway, moving
okay,
on.
back to you, Charlie.
Wow.
One more theory. There's something about Mary before we move on. There's something about Mary, maybe.
That might have been one of them.
There
yeah.
you go.
Something about
Something
Mary
about
might have been
Mary,
one of
that
them.
makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's
That
very
makes
possible.
sense. You did not get parental approval for that.
All right,
Coming
moving
back
on
on
to
the
Twitter.
rails now.
Yes.
We asked Twitter how many R-rated movies are coming our way, and we got Mustafa Zidi, who has the best Spike Spiegel avatar ever. He says a lot, from comedies to drama to horror and action and animated movies all over. Deadpool left his mark, and it's not going anywhere. So he sees a lot in our forecast. Whereas Jack Shipley says of the MCU, none from the MCU, and maybe it's time they did. He thinks Thor Ragnarok could easily go there with Planet Hulk, but they won't, because Disney.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So he feels like Planet Hulk needs to be R.
I
story?
think that's the assumption. I think because of the gladiator match and having all the blood.
The blood.
Just go there.
Yeah. Just
Wow.
like a brutal, bloody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Dan?
Halloween H2O was definitely one that I bought a ticket for Dr. Doolittle for and snuck into. Sorry.
Wow.
I was having
Listen.
I was having a whole Stand By Me thing in my head just now.
Side show needs to be another show of just you.
Just hanging out. Was that the Josh Hartnett one?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Let's remember-
Oh, Dan.
I prefer to think of it as the Michelle Williams one.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yes.
Yes.
Very.
Also-
And the LL
auspicious.
Cool J one.
Yes.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Okay. Dan's Labyrinth, you guys. This is what you get on Dan's Labyrinth, the deep dive into the brain of Dan Murrell.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is interesting, and I think that Logan is a great film. So no matter what happens, I think it's going to perform, and I think it will do more than 70. What are your expectations, ladies and gentlemen?
Ooh,
What do you think it will do?
predicting?
What is your prediction? Box office prediction.
I'm gonna go with. I just think the expectations are already there. So whatever it's tracking at
It's
right
tracking
now,
at 70 plus right now.
if it's tracking at 70 plus, I think that there's not going to be a whole lot more people that don't know about it. So I'm going to say, with the reviews, I'm going to say it opens at 78.
Nice.
It's a very specific number.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think it will exceed expectations. I think I'm going to go 100,
Wow. It would be the top
which is
grossing.
way too high, by the way.
Well, that's
It's
okay.
not going to do 100.
It would be the top grossing Wolverine film if it outgrossed Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine, which got 85. So I'm going to say it gets 81.
81.
Because I don't think that it will be, although it deserves to be. I think
Okay.
it will track just below. But we want to know what you think. We want to know how excited you are for Logan, and also how many R-rated films do you think we're going to get out of the superhero universes? Let us know in the comments below. You can tweet us at SJ News. Make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, you can always click here for more. We'll be back very soon.